Hello, today I'm going to be creating the third of a sequence of tutorial videos showing you how to use the import from CSV feature in RSpace. For more information, you can consult our documentation at documentation.researchbase.com, and specifically you'll need to look at the import samples, subsamples, and containers into inventory page. Everything you really need to know is on this page somewhere. At the end of the page, you can see a link that will allow you to download a bundle of CSV files that I'll be using in the tutorial. You can follow along using these different example CSV files if you like, edit the CSV files any way you want, and see if you can replicate what I show in the videos. So let's begin. In earlier videos, I showed some very simple imports involving a single CSV file. In this video, we're going to get a little bit more advanced. I'm going to go to Create, and I'll say initially under the CSV import area, I'll say Samples. Then I'll go ahead and I'll select the file that represents the samples I like to import, and it's going to be taxane from Chebby. This is the same CSV file that we used in video number 2. Let's open that up. What's different here is now at the same time I'm going to go to the subsamples area, and I'm going to select a CSV file to represent specific types of subsamples too as well. So I'm going to choose taxane subsamples here and say open. Let's take a look at those two CSV files next to each other so that we can understand exactly what we're trying to import and accomplish here. Here we can see the two CSV files I'm about to import. On the left, this is the same CSV file that I used in video number 2. It defines the metadata associated with a number of taxane samples. On the right, I'm now specifying that each taxane sample will be made up of 4 subsamples. If you look at the end of my CSV file here in column K, you can now see that I've added some arbitrary identifiers. Now these don't have to be in any special format, I really just made these up. The only requirement here is that these identifiers here define which sample these different subsamples will be associated with when they are imported. This is one of 2 methods you can use for associating samples with subsamples, or sometimes subsamples with containers. You can choose to either use arbitrary identifiers in a given import event to connect these things together, or alternatively, I could have specified here the unique identifier of existing samples already in RSpace, so that these subsamples would be added to an existing sample. In this case, I'll be making new samples and new subsamples at the same time. Let's go back to RSpace and take one last look at the import configuration. Under Samples, I've already chosen my CSV, I've chosen the template that I'd like to use, and down here I can see that these columns in the CSV file match nicely with the fields I'd like to create. You'll also notice that in this case I am taking note of the import ID. Simultaneously in the subsamples area, I can see some columns here that are found within the CSV file, and they'll be matched to fields that are in the subsample area. So now if I go back to the Samples tab, you'll see that at the bottom of the page I can now click Import Samples and Subsamples. RSpace knows that I have selected 2 different CSV files. Let's go ahead and click that. That's now going to generate 4 new samples, each with 4 subsamples for a total of 16 subsamples. I can now go to my bench and go to my import folder and verify that my samples have arrived. So here are my 16 subsamples. I can change this counter here to show all of them. Here are all the different subsamples that I just created. I can, if I want to, also switch this setting to sample, and now it's easier for me to see that for each of the samples 4 subsamples were created. If I look at any given subsample or sample, I can see more information about it. So in this case I could, for example, look at the custom fields and verify that the custom metadata from my CSV file was imported. You'll also notice that at the bottom of the page here I can see that there are 4 taxane subsamples that have been made. And if I want to, I can even actually toggle through these subsamples here to look at the details of those to see if any special details have been created in my subsamples. Now once again, currently all of these subsamples are located in this import folder. So if I'd like to put these in a more logical location, I can now go ahead and choose all 16 subsamples, select all of them, go ahead and say move, and move them to a logical location. In this case, my usual taxane holding area. I can now select that item here, and over here I can say move to move my subsamples into that taxane container. Once I've done that, my import folder is empty, and again, as in the previous video, I can now select that and trash it. In the next video, we'll look at a more complex example that will show how we can tie together samples, subsamples, and containers.